Yum. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone who teach and rule well, and Shalom to the sincere Akim, spreading this truth and sincerity. Shalom. So in this video, I actually want to speak on the fact that we in this ministry, this truth that we are in, we are, basically bombarded with trials, tribulations, afflictions, because we decided, to serve the Lord Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai. And the Heavenly Father already forewarned us in the scriptures that if we come to serve the Lord Yahweh, that we should prepare our soul for temptation. So we are going to be tried and tested. And he that basically separates himself from evil, basically making himself a prey, he's going to become a target. A target for who? A target for Satan. The spiritual demon Satan now has, a target upon you, because he is not busy and occupied with those, that are not busy with serving Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, because they are already walking the wrong path. He is busy and occupied with those that are actually walking in the right way towards, salvation, that are serving the Heavenly Father Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai in truth and sincerity. And like I said, or like I am building up towards, is that we are being bombarded with all these trials, tribulations, and afflictions. And yes, of course, that is part of this ministry and part of this truth, part of picking up the cross that we have to carry. But it is also very important that we find time, activities, or opportunities, or hobbies, or things that we just like to do, that basically help us to decompress, relax, and let that edge be taken away, that constant being under tension and pressure. We should be, looking for ways amidst the chaos, amongst everything that we go through, to find some time, or do something for ourselves that takes away our mind from the things that we are actually going through. Because a bow that is always under tension will eventually snap. It's gonna break you, man. It's gonna break you if you are constantly under tension and there's no way for you to relax, and have a moment of quote unquote peace and relaxation, in which your mind is being drifted away from the things going on in the world and the things going on in your life. And that is actually part of living a very balanced life in the sight of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. You see? So we have to find activities, we have to find, something that takes away that edge. And for some people that might be playing games, man. Back in the days, I was a fanatic, man. I really loved to play games. The MMORPGs, the shooter games. Here and there, played some FIFA. Like the shooter looters, Borderlands. Got the Elder Scrolls, Skyrim. I still have them games, man. I still have the Xbox. I used to have the 360, which, then I replaced that with the Xbox One. The old generation Xbox One. And I still play some games here and there. Play some games here and there, left and right. But the thing for me is that is not something that I can really enjoy doing, man. It is not something that I really enjoy doing. There is a brother, in our midst that really loves to play games, and that is something that takes his mind away from the things that he is going through. There are brothers that like to play games when they're together. I'm not really one of them that like to play the games, together like that, unless it's a game that, I like to play, of course. But otherwise, I get bored fairly quickly. But the point is, you gotta find something, man. For other brothers that might be, being invested in some kind of sports. They like to play sports, man. Whether that is going to the gym, lifting weights, working out. Whether that is playing rugby, basketball, whether it is martial arts, man. Take that edge off your life. Also building up some discipline. Get some skills. Other people, they like to go into the outdoors, man. Set up a tent, go camping for a weekend or for a couple of days. You know, just so that they are, able to distract themselves from what is going on in the world and within their life. So that they then later on, the moment that they are able to come back, to, their life, they have the energy, they have the mental capability, the physical capability, the spiritual capability. Basically, it gave them a moment to recharge so that they would be able to, sustain everything that is going on in their lives for a prolonged period of time. For a prolonged period of time, because, like I mentioned, a bow that is constantly bent will eventually snap. A bow that is constantly under tension will snap eventually, man. And it's gonna hurt, the one who is wielding the bow. You see? So who then is it gonna hurt, in the case of someone constantly, being under tension and pressure without having any, basically, me time or, for himself? It's gonna be that guy, man. That guy that is not minding, the moments that he would need to have for himself. There might be brothers in here that like to do other activities, man. They might be invested in cars, fix up some cars, be busy with a car. Others, they might like the motorcycles, man. Over here in Holland, brothers are busy with getting their license, getting a motorcycle. This week I just passed for my motorcycle exam. And I'm busy with some things and setting up some things to basically see if I'm able to basically job my love, man, concerning the meme. That's an inside joke, but basically, if I'm able to make a living out of something that I really like doing and spending time on doing, man. Because for me, when I talk about myself right now, when I step on the motorcycle, that's when my mind drifts away, from all my problems that I have going on. Of course, when you come back, they're all back there. But it is a time in which you're able to recharge, man. So this is Sirach chapter 14 and verse 11. It says, "My son, according to thy ability, do good to thyself, and give the Lord Jehovah his due offering." And I want to focus on that first part, do good to thyself according to your ability. So within the confines of, your capabilities, financially, or, whether it is possible within, the confines of, your work or your weekends or your spare time that you have, do good unto yourself, And it doesn't only mean, that you should be able to find time for yourself. Doing good unto yourself actually goes into, loving yourself in a way, man. taking care of yourself, proper care, which taking care of yourself is both financially, mentally, physically, and spiritually, man. And that comes with a lot of things that, you could implement depending on the type of person that you are, because not all things, not everyone enjoys the same things, roughly paraphrasing from the scriptures, but in a modern jacket, basically. Um, so look, yeah. Oh, you see. This is Sirach 14:5. He that is evil to himself, to whom will he be good? You shall not take pleasure in his good. Yeah, so you need to take care of yourself, man. You need to basically do that which is right towards yourself, because if you're not doing it to yourself, you're not able to do it for someone else. And then you're not able to, enjoy the things that you have in your life. Whether it is property or other belongings, or, the state that you are in. So it's very important to do good unto yourself, and part of that is, within this ministry, finding time for yourself. Finding some time for yourself to basically take your mind off the things, that you're occupying yourself with, for the majority of the week. You know what I mean? Because the moment that you are not busy with that, over time it will have an effect on you. It is gonna make you tired. It is gonna drain you. And the only way for you, to get them things back is to be mindful of it and implement it back into your life. Go to the gym. That is one of the things that I do. I go to the gym, 2 to 3 times out of the week. I used to go 3 to a maximum 5 times, but I felt that was eventually, taxing on my body and, on my balance as well. But being able to go 2 to a maximum of 3 times a week, does allow me to establish a better balance with other things into my life, which, that is also part of doing good unto myself, being able to, have time for other responsibilities and things that are required of us within this ministry, and don't think that, not finding time for yourself, is not something that, the Heavenly Father looks at and be like, you're doing the right thing, because actually, by creating a balanced life, you're fulfilling, the things that the Heavenly Father requires of us. So actually, by, being good unto yourself, finding time for yourself, finding a way to, cope and deal, with the heaviness that this truth, can bring into our life, that's actually a good thing to be busy with and to, have as a, I don't want to say priority, but like as an important thing for us to be mindful of, to say it like that. That is also very important, and something that we should consider within this ministry. Prioritizing also the balance, because a false balance is abomination to the Lord, man. Something that he really looks down upon and despises, and so creating a balance is very important in the sight of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. And that means being able to do everything that you have within your responsibilities and perform it so that nothing is lacking or slacking. But if you do not grant yourself any, me or quote unquote you time, or time where you're able to, recharge, then eventually you're not going to be in balance at all, but you're going to be imbalanced. You do not want to be imbalanced, because in the long run, you won't be able to perform like you used to. You won't be able to perform like you used to, like back in the days. You see? So yeah, I don't want to, repeat myself too much, because I already feel like, I repeated a couple of things a couple of times already. So, Yahweh Ratazai, this video is still edifying, in which I wanted to focus on the fact that it is very important to find something that you like to do, that you enjoy doing, that is able to take your mind off the things that you have going on in your life, so that you then, when you come back, have been able to recharge from the things, going on in your life, and then now with more energy, more vitality, you're able to, go into those situations, and basically conquer them, man, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. You see, so with that, I do hope and pray that this video was edifying. And with that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah Kwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone who teach and rule well. And shalom to the sincere Akim, spreading this truth in sincerity. Shalom.